Welcome back to the channel, everyone, and today we're going to be looking at the new iPhone 16e that came out on Friday. So I managed to get a hold of the 512GB version, as I always go for the top of the range storage because I need the space for the video and the photography, and I was really keen to try out the video and the photography modes on this new iPhone to see how it stands up to the traditional iPhone 16 lineup. So let's get into this review and I'll find out if this phone is worth your money. So first of all, let's start off looking at the unboxing. So this is a very typical Apple unboxing, very simplistic package. You get the phone, which I'll show you on the unboxing video, and you get the cable and the traditional Apple camera-shaped instructions with no stickers anymore. So if you want the stickers, you can still get them. You just need to ask at the Apple shop and they still have them available, but it's meant to be eco-friendly. So no charger as usual, just the phone, just the cable. And that's fine. I was quite impressed with the quality of the build quality of this phone, because I was thinking if it's a slightly cheaper phone, it maybe actually feel less build quality. But as soon as I got it out of the box, it felt pretty good. And the one thing I did notice was how light it was. It's incredibly light for a phone. You know, I've got an iPhone 16 Pro here, and the weight difference is quite noticeable in the actual phones themselves, which I was quite surprised about. I'm guessing it's to do with the camera hardware and bits of cut down variations and the titanium in this and everything like that. But yeah, it does feel pretty light from when I noticed from the unboxing. And it was a typical Apple unboxing, as I said, nothing really to show at home about, but I will show you what you get just out of interest, so you know. So I went for the nice silver white version. So it's available in two colors. It's available in silver and black. So the iPhone 16e has caused a lot of controversy because it replaces the iPhone SE lineup. So as some people may know, and the iPhone SE had a bit of a cult following, so it was the cheapest budget iPhone available, and it was a good price. You know, you could get one for £400. It was cut down, yes, but it had some decent specifications on it. It usually had the same camera module as the more expensive phones and a very kind of powerful Apple CPU, as does this. But we're now moving toward territory. The pricing on this has gone up quite close to the iPhone 16. So essentially, what I want to do in this video is find out, is this worth buying over the iPhone 16 standard lineup? So you save yourself £200 roughly going for the iPhone 16e over the standard 16. So I've reviewed the 16 phone when it came out, and I reviewed the 16 Pro, which I've still got here. I've not got the 16 anymore. I had to sell it because of budget limitations again. But I had the beautiful ultramarine iPhone 16, and I loved that phone. It was great. It had a great camera system on it, and really, really nice screen, really nice color. And I really enjoyed the camera control. So it was a great phone, and I recommended it on my video. I said it was a good one to buy. So the iPhone 16e has a lot to live up to, because £200, yes, is a lot of money, but also £200 isn't that much money in the grand scheme of things for the amount you might get on it. So what I'm going to try and do on this video is talk to you about what you get less for if you buy the iPhone 16, what you get less on the phone than you do the standard iPhone 16. So let's get into this, and I'm going to start off going over what the differences are between the iPhone 16 and the iPhone 16e. So the first thing to look at is both phones share the same CPU. So they're both using an Apple A18 CPU, but the iPhone 16e uses a slightly cut down version of the A18. So the standard A18 CPU in the iPhone 16 uses a 5-core GPU, and the iPhone 16e uses a 4-core GPU. So it's one less core. So it's not a massive difference, and I have to say I have not noticed any difference in using the iPhone 16e for gaming or anything like that over the iPhone 16. So that's just a difference I'm pointing out, but I haven't actually noticed any difference in performance. There's less color choices. So the iPhone 16 has a lovely ultramarine blue color, pink, and various color choices. The iPhone 16e is limited to white and black, but that's small. It's not a major difference, but if you want a fancy color, you're gonna have to go for the iPhone 16. There's only one camera, so you only get one camera module on here, as you'll notice, and it's the 48 megapixel fusion camera. So it's the same camera taken from the main camera on the 16 Pro and the 16. So it's a really good camera. I've used this out and about a few times over the weekend, and I've got some really good shots with it, and I enjoyed using the camera on it. I thought, the camera didn't seem any different to me than the standard iPhone 16 camera. So you'd lose the ultra wide camera on here, so you'd no longer have the ultra wide. To be honest, I'm not a big user of the ultra wide camera. I do occasionally like to use it to get like a wide angle shot when I'm on holiday or something like that, but I don't use it that much. So I don't personally miss it that much not being on here. I miss not having a telephoto because I like the telephoto shots more, but you can actually get a lot of, because you can get a 1 times and a 2 times zoom on this. So the 2 times crop zoom is actually pretty good because it's a higher resolution 48 megapixel camera, and you can take pictures on high resolution mode, just not in Pro RAW, but that's a whole different story. There's no macro mode on this, so it's purely based, which you do get on the iPhone 16. So if you're big macro photography, then no, this is not the phone for you. More limited portrait modes, less photographic styles, just a few things like that are cut down. No camera control button on here, missing from this one, but you do get an action button on it, which is really, really useful still. And I don't really miss the camera control, so I've never been a big user of the camera control on the 16 Pro. I actually just use the action button as I've used on my other various iPhones, so to me it's not really a big deal. I'm happy to live without it. I wouldn't pay the extra to get the camera control. No dynamic island, and that's essentially it. There are a few other things, but that's more or less it. So the iPhone 16e starts at $599 and the iPhone 16 starts at $799. So it's that £200 price difference. So it's nowhere near a bigger gap as it used to be. It used to be about £300 or £400 on the iPhone SE. Now it's £200. So Apple are really, really closing that gap. And things are getting more expensive, but people will always buy Apple products because Apple's name is like gold dust and it will sell products. So I'm not, just to start the review, and as we've only got into this, I'm not going to say that this is a bad phone because I don't think it is. It just isn't a bad phone. It has lots of good features to it, but I don't think it's necessarily worth, at the moment, I don't know. It's hard to say for sure whether it's worth buying over the iPhone 16. Depends on your needs. So what I'm going to do in this video is try and just talk about the phone, give you some ideas about what the build quality is like and how it compares to the iPhone 16. Because I don't think I can compare it to the iPhone 16 Pro, but I think most people looking at this phone will be looking at it between the iPhone 16 and the iPhone 16e, so not the Pro model. So I'm not going to talk too much about the Pro model. It's going to be more about the 16. So you've got a lovely aerospace grade aluminium design, just like you have on the iPhone 16. It feels lighter than the iPhone 16 because you've got less components in it, but the build qualities are identical. I have not noticed any difference in identical. You still got waterproofing, IP68 waterproofing, so it's durable. So the build quality of this phone feels the same as the iPhone 16 in a lot of ways. So let's talk about the display then. So Apple have now moved to the iPhone SE standard range used to have a non-OLED display. It was a really good LCD display. Now it's gone to a full-size screen with OLED technology. So it's basically an iPhone 14 OLED display. They've taken out the 14. So this is another question that I'll answer at the end, is should you look at buying a second-hand iPhone 14 or 15? So we'll look at that at the end, but I think that's another interesting question to look at. So the actual display is a 60Hz non-ProMotion panel as expected, so it's very similar to the iPhone 16 screen in a lot of ways. It's a great screen, just the bezels are a bit thicker on the display, so it feels a bit less premium. But the actual quality of the display for video watching is fantastic, and it supports Dolby Vision, HDR, so you're not losing out any of that. It looks great. So I think display-wise, for gaming, anything like that, it's a big upgrade over the SE in a lot of ways because you've now got OLED technology, deep blacks, rich contrast, and the combined with the A18 power. It's a great phone for gaming and for media consumption. So if you just want to use your phone for watching lots and lots of videos on and lots of gaming, then this phone would be absolutely fine. So I think display-wise, I've got no problems. Yes, the bezels are a bit thicker, but it looks great still. So from my initial impression so far, no problems there whatsoever. So performance-wise, as I've said, there is a slightly cut-down A18 CPU in this. So the same CPU cores, just a cut-down GPU. So GPU performance, in theory, could be a bit worse. I've not noticed it when I'm doing my testing. I've not noticed it getting any hotter. I've not noticed it lagging in any way. I've just, it's got the same amount of RAM as the standard iPhone 16 for Apple Intelligence. So for me, it runs fine. I've not noticed any major difference. I don't really know why Apple have cut down the GPU core. Maybe it saves a lot of money in manufacturing. I don't know. But Apple like doing this. We see it a lot when cutting down the core, especially like in the iMac range where they've cut down the core on the iMac standard base model, and it's just a way of differentiating the phones, I think. But they have a very strange way of these budget phones and budget lineup, and there isn't really such thing as a budget Apple product in my opinion. It's more like a starting baseline, but it's very strange how they do it, and it's very confusing for reviewers to try and look at it and say this, you should buy this one. I think it really depends on your personal circumstances. But for me, performance was fine, as I've mentioned before. You've got iOS 18 on here. It runs really smoothly. Yes, it's a 60 hertz display. Yes, I could bang on about that Android give you a 100 hertz display in models costing half this amount of money, but I'm not going to do that because it's a pointless discussion, because this is aimed at Apple fans. It's not aimed at Android fans. It's not really aimed at moving people over from Android. This is a phone for people who just love iPhone and want a basic iPhone and love the iOS operating system. And it does that. It delivers it. It delivers iOS it delivers you an Apple iOS 18 performance in a compact, cheaper package. It does do what it says on the tin. So that's one thing you can't really fault Apple for, but it is more expensive than the original iPhone SE. So I've tested it with Pug Mobile, I've tested it with Genshin Impact, and it does not falter at all. It runs it all really nice and smoothly, as expected, with that lovely A18 chip in it. So no difference really. I've not noticed any difference between the standard 16 Pro and the 16E. It just all runs really well with that A18 CPU, and even that has got the A18 Pro in it, I've just not noticed much difference. So the camera system then. So as we mentioned in the original startup on this review, there are some big differences on the camera. So you only have one main camera and you have the ultra wide camera, which is not there anymore. So I don't miss the ultra wide. If you're a big fan of if you love ultra wide photography and you know you can use it a lot, and you know you can use the macro mode, which works in tandem with the ultra wide lens, then you're going to have to go for the iPhone 16. I wouldn't even bother looking at the 16e, because for me, it just, you're not going to get that or duplicate that anyway. So you just need to say, sod it, I'm going to spend that £200 to get the iPhone 16 to get that extra camera module. So if you care about photos in any way, doing macro mode, portraits, then get the 16. Don't get this, because it's just you're going to be annoyed with it. You're going to lose so many features on it that you're just going to get irritated with it. And that's how I feel like this when I've been reviewing it. If you just want a basic iPhone, as I say, with decent performance, good gaming performance, and one camera is fine for taking family shots, photos of kids, out and about, and you're not bothered about spending a lot of money, then this will do the job perfectly fine. It's got a great camera. That Fusion 48 megapixel camera is one of my favorite cameras still on a phone, and it looks great. It takes great shots. Like, the colors are rich, the photographic styles are really nice to play around with, and they let you tweak the shots really well, and it's got all the suite of editing features on here, and it looks great. It gives you great results. I'll show you some shots I've taken over the weekend with it, and I've been really impressed. It's got the smart HDR4 engine, it's got the photonic engine on it, it's got everything on it that the iPhone 16 has on the main camera. So it is a great camera, and you can take it at 24 megapixels or 48 megapixels. Obviously, you don't get the Pro RAW like you do on the 16 Pro, but that's not really something that anyone's going to worry about. It does, video-wise, it records Dolby Vision 4K 60. It does 1080p 240 slow motion. It's got a great portrait mode on it. It's got night mode on it, and all of those features worked fine. I had no problem with them whatsoever. It felt like I was using a standard iPhone 16 on that main camera. So if you just want a decent camera system on a phone that's not going to cost you the earth, then this is definitely it. I think now we're best to talk about battery life. So battery life is one of the main selling points in this phone, and so far it's been good. I wouldn't say it's noticeably better than the iPhone 16 or noticeably worse. I think it's probably about the same. It's meant to be a bit better in terms of video playback. For some reason, you get less time on it, even though it's got meant to get. But it's roughly about the same, but a little bit better maybe if you're on standby mode. And it feels lighter than an iPhone 16. So if you want something that's really light, good camera system, great screen, and relatively good battery life, then this is a good buy. It's not a bad buy on a phone. So battery life was fine. You get 20 watt fast charging, same as any other iPhone lineup. 20 watts is pretty rubbish, but it's fine. It does the job. So in terms of charging, one thing you don't get on this, I forgot to mention earlier on the actual list of options that you don't get, is MagSafe. So Apple have cut out the MagSafe on this, and one of the benefits of that, because I don't particularly use MagSafe very much, I'm not really a big fan of it, it doesn't really bother me not having it, is that the phone is a lot lighter. That's why you get the lightness in the phone, because they've cut the magnets out of the phone. So you don't get any MagSafe accessories are not compatible with this phone. That's just something to bear in mind. It will not use MagSafe chargers or wireless chargers. It won't work. So you just get the standard 20 watt wide charging, which is fine. Like it runs perfectly well on it. So software, there's not really much to talk about. iOS 18, I've talked about it a lot. We've now got the latest Apple Intelligence Suite on there. So we've got like Apple Studio on there to do pictures, just like Pixel Studio, which is a waste of time, in my opinion. But it's a bit of fun if you want to mess around with it. It's got all the email writing tools on it, which are really useful, which are like the same as on the Pixel phones or Android phones. And I think Apple AI is fine now. It's not the best AI system on there, but it's okay. And Apple are improving it all the time, and it's just okay. I would say it's fine. But essentially, if you want an iOS phone, then you haven't really got much choice but to go for an iPhone, because that's the only operating system that runs on the phone and iPhone. So you're going to have to go for an iPhone if you want iOS anyway. So I don't think there's really much to talk about in terms of software. It's very similar to other iPhones, and it now has Face ID, which is nice. It unlocks itself really quickly for you. So there's Touch ID, and I prefer that. Some people used to like Touch ID, so maybe not a deal breaker for some, but it's more secure in a lot of ways, apparently. So you can use it to pay for things. So Face ID is better in some ways, I would say. So connectivity and storage wise, so it starts at 128 gigabytes, which is 599. Then it goes up to 256 gigabytes, which is 699. Then it finally tops out at 512 gigabytes, which is about 899, I think it is. So this is the 512 gigabyte version because I used to take a lot of photos, and this is it's not a cheap phone. This is a £900 phone without. So I'm going to go to the Android world for a second here. So if I was in the Android world and buying a £900 phone, so this is the same price as a Pixel 9 Pro with one camera, it's insane. Like honestly, the difference in price is crackers how Apple do the pricing, but they get away with it. People love iOS, and if you want iOS, you have to buy Apple. So it's very hard, I think, to compare this to the Android world. And I've heard a lot of people say online it's overpriced, and yes, you can get a lot more in the Android world. Yes, you can. But if you don't want Android and you want iOS, then you don't have a choice. You have to buy what Apple make, because that's what essentially the only platform you can buy iOS on, which is the big disadvantage of the Apple ecosystem in a way, is that you're locked into it. So you need to look at this from a different perspective, in my opinion. You just need to compare it to the iPhone 16, because if you're already looking at this phone, you're already deciding whether to buy it over the iPhone 16. So that is just the only phone to compare it to. So iPhone 16 pricing, so it's roughly £200 cheaper. So this is where I think it's good to look at. So connectivity wise, important thing to talk about is it's got Apple's new modem in it. So they're no longer relying on Qualcomm for modems. So it's got Apple's new 5G modem in it. Most people will not care about this. It's worth mentioning because it's the first phone to use Apple's 5G modem. I have to say, when I was out and about, I didn't find the connection as good as my iPhone 16 Pro. It kept dropping 5G occasionally. Now, I don't know if this is just something that is in my area at the moment, so I don't want to say it's a problem with the phone, but I'd love to hear if anyone else is having this issue. Drop me a line down below if you are, because I noticed this on this phone that I didn't get as good 5G connection as I did on my iPhone 16 Pro and also on my OnePlus 13, which has a Qualcomm 5G modem in it. It was faster. They were faster phones on 5G, in my opinion. Wi-Fi, it was fine, just on the 5G. So I don't know if it's an update or that it is a slower phone. In terms of the 5G, I don't know. So one thing that I think is important to go through now is look at the pros and cons between the iPhone 16 and the iPhone 16e to help you decide whether to buy this or not. So the iPhone 16e is meant to be affordable. So it's competitively priced technically. So it's say $499 starting price, $599 starting price, and the main iPhone 16 is $799. So it's £200 difference. So yes, £200 is a lot of money. So if you want an absolute budget and this is your absolute maximum money you can spend, $599, then it's fine. You will not be disappointed with the phone. Just please look at the list above that I mentioned earlier. I'll pop it in the description down below. Just please bear in mind that you will lose out on those features. But if you can only afford that, then that's fine. It's a great phone, and you get great power out of it with the 18 chip and a great camera performance on that single camera. Portability, the iPhone 16 is lighter, more compact because you don't have the magnets in it, so it's making it easier to handle and carry around. So it's a really light phone in your pocket. I loved that. Technically, it'll make a great business phone, so I think this will be really popular with businesses because it's cheaper than the iPhone 16. You aren't going to be able to buy that camera system, and it's got that, and it can run all the email security. It's got the same security email system on it as all the other iPhone lineup, but just for less money. So I think this will be a very, very big seller in the business world. I think that's Apple know that, and that's what they've aimed it at. I think battery life is fine. It's no different to me than the iPhone 16, so it's good battery life on it. So the cons are the camera performance is nowhere near up to there with the you lose the ultra wide, lose the portrait mode, lose some photographic style. So the iPhone, the camera system is substantially cut down, but yet it just still take good pictures. The display quality is good, but it's no match for the sort of 16 Pro because it's used promotional. It has a slightly bigger bezels, so it's very similar quality to the iPhone 16, but you lose the quality-wise in the iPhone 16 Pro. But obviously, you pay a lot more money for the Pro, so that's expected. The aluminium frame doesn't maybe feel as. I like the feel actually. The matte feel feels nice, but some people may not feel it doesn't feel as premium as the sort of more higher end iPhones like the titanium design. But it's not really a big deal that for me. So what I want to do now is look at the iPhone 15 lineup and this phone and the iPhone 14 lineup because they're still available to buy. So why would you buy this over an iPhone 14 and an iPhone 15? So the iPhone 15 lineup starts at $699, so it's £100 difference now between the iPhone 15 lineup and the iPhone 16e. So the main differences are, so you obviously get the A16 Bionic chip, but it has the 5-core GPU, which is still a good chip, but it's it's 2 generations because we went through the period where Apple would putting 2 generational chips in the base model iPhone 15 phone, so you lose out on that. You obviously get the dual camera system on it with a 48 megapixel fusion camera and the ultra wide camera on the 15. So if that ultra wide camera is really important to you, and you really are on a budget, I would certainly look at the iPhone 15 for that performance. And you get photographic styles, 4K 60, and more options with the dynamic island and the same video playback and the same USB-C support, USB 2 support speeds and Face ID. So you do get a lot more for that £100, but bear in mind you get an A16 chip, so the performance may be a bit different, but the A16 chip is still very capable, still very quick, and I wouldn't have a problem recommending it to anyone on a budget. So please do look at the iPhone 15 over the 16e if you are particularly concerned about the camera side. If you're not bothered about the camera side and you only want the performance on the iPhone for a budget price, then this 16e is still one I would consider because it offers the A18 chip, the good new LED display, and Apple's new modem in it. So just bear that in mind. This is more future-proofed in a way than the old iPhone 15. Another option would be to look at an iPhone 15 Pro second-hand. You can pick some up quite a good price. So if you're in the second-hand market, that might be more suitable for you looking at that. But if you're not bothered about second-hand and you want brand new, then the iPhone 16e is kind of a good one to recommend. So let's wrap this up then. So in conclusion, I think the iPhone 16e is a great phone. It's not a bad phone in any way. I think it is overpriced in some ways, but then if you look at the whole Apple lineup, Apple products are expensive, are overpriced. I don't think this phone is aimed at getting people over to iPhone from Android. I think it's aimed at people who are already in the Apple ecosystem, who have an SE already and are looking to upgrade to a newer phone and want something that's not full price compared to the iPhone 16. Want something that's a couple £100 cheaper, but still has a great camera and a great screen. And this delivers. It does it in spades. It has a great screen and a great main camera. And a fast CPU. So if you want a phone, you're not bothered about having hundreds of cameras, you just want a very, very good main camera, family shots, occasional portrait shots, landscape shots, and I would recommend buying it. Should you buy it over the iPhone 16? This is a decision only you can make. So personally, I would spend the extra £200 to get the iPhone 16 because I love the different colours. I love having the ultra wide camera. I love the fact that you get the glass back and the MagSafe and all that. I think you get more for your money with the iPhone 16 lineup, but I still get why people would go for this cut down version. Thank you for watching. I hope that's been helpful in deciding if you want to buy the iPhone 16e or go for the iPhone 16. If it hasn't been helpful anyway, or if you think I've missed something or anything that's not quite right with the video, just drop me a comment down below and I'm happy to look at changing things or getting through a discussion about it, because I love this sort of stuff. I love discussing things, and I'm not saying I'm always right. My recommendation is not gospel. It's open to interpretation and open to debate. So please start talking down below. And I want to help people with tech, and I want to get people involved in discussion. So thank you for watching. I would really appreciate it if you could subscribe to the channel and give me a thumbs up and share my videos. Really appreciate that, guys. And thank you again.